the Rally Agile Success Tour. This was number 16 that they had done, and it was really fantastic. There were 3 of us on the panel. It was myself, a woman that's a consultant at Microsoft, and then a gentleman that is working with Intel. All of us working on different types of Agile projects, mostly working on large Agile projects. I think, surprisingly, Microsoft was the smallest. IBM, he was dealing with like 300 people on his project teams. I deal with about 100 or so on my project teams. She had like 50 or so on her project team. So she has a lot of different project teams. But so it was really interesting to be out there and hear some of the questions. What I'm going to do for you is I have asked them for a copy of the video, and so when I get that, I'll post that up here too. But in the meantime, I plan to do my presentation, which was like a 7-minute presentation. Basically, the scenario was do a little brief presentation of a project that you've worked on, and then all 3 of us would do that, and then there's just Q&A for 45 minutes or so, half an hour. It was really great, really great. So I plan on doing the 7-minute presentation for you, and then, you know, bringing back some of those questions that we asked. You know, they talked about sprint length, and they talked about lots of different stuff. So we'll talk about all those things. But the other thing I wanted to talk with you about is the relationship between project manager and Scrum Master. So I had this question posed to me earlier this week because of a misunderstanding. So really, I want to get back to that part of it, the misunderstanding part. So keep me honest. Got to get back to that. The relationship between the project manager and the Scrum Master is really, I like to talk about it as a dance. It really, you know, I'm not going to tell you that here's the scribed area around which outside of it is the project manager and inside of it is the Scrum Master. No, I think it's a dance. I think you go back and forth very organically between project manager and Scrum Master. I've played both roles at the same time. I've played Scrum Master, I've played project manager. So, and on projects, I tend to go back and forth between them. As a matter of fact, right now I'm program manager kind of person that also does project manager, that also does Scrum Master. So it just, you know, it varies with what I'm doing at the time. But the relationship between these two people needs to be a symbiotic relationship, right? So that's the word, if you haven't heard it. Most people probably have, but maybe you haven't heard it. It's a relationship between 2 organisms that is mutually beneficial. So a great example of this is a sea anemone and a clownfish, right? So the clownfish hangs out in the sea anemone, which protects the clownfish from predators, but the sea anemone gets from the clownfish that, hey, it's kind of a trick. Hey, there's a fish swimming in here, so other fish may come and try and get that clownfish, but the sea anemone gets them then. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Benefits both organisms. So there's lots of relationships like that in nature. There's lichens and all kinds of stuff. But, oh, the birds, yeah. So like rhinoceroses and the, what is it called? The rhino peckers or something like that. The birds that live on the back of rhinoceroses. And that's what they do. They live on the backs of them and they eat the ticks off the back of the rhinoceros. Well, the rhinoceros gets the freedom from the ticks and the bird gets to eat. Symbiotic relationship. They mutually beneficial. So Agile Project Manager and Scrum Master, it's a similar kind of relationship. I don't know who's getting the ticks picked off of them, but it's not. Don't go there. I look at it like this. The Scrum Master on projects that I work on is responsible for things inside the envelope, and I use what I call the envelope method. So inside the envelope, and this applies to lots of different things, inside the envelope are all of the Scrum team and the development work, and the Scrum Master is responsible for everything inside there. Outside, hold on a second. Just a second, Joy. My daughter. Outside of the envelope is the rest of the organization. And this stuff churns and spins and is crazy. And this is where the project manager lives. This is where the project manager works. This is dealing with steering committees and dealing with appropriations people and procurement and all that stuff, for lack of a profanity, that you want to keep off of the team. A project manager that I know, Jean Richardson, used a great analogy. She says, project managers are shit umbrellas for the team. And while I don't like to say that phrase necessarily, I don't use it often, but I wanted to share it with you because it's a powerful term, and I wanted to keep the power of the term. We are shit umbrellas. We protect the team from all the shit that the organization tries to throw at them. And if you can get that vision in your mind that my job as a project manager is to protect the team, including the Scrum Master, from the organizational crap that flies around, then you'll have a great vision of your role, or one possible role, of a project manager on an agile project. I tend to see them on large projects because that's what I deal with. So there's no question in my mind of, do you need a project manager? Some agile projects will say, well, you don't need a project manager. Well, projects of my size, you do. Sorry. So anyway, that umbrella, that protection, is what will help you understand your role. Just a minute, Joy. It'll help you understand what your role is. And that relationship between you and the Scrum Master. Now, so what does the Scrum Master do? Well, the Scrum Master deals with maybe the interpersonal relationships between the developers. Maybe they deal with the technical issues with integrating code. Maybe they deal with, oh gosh, what is our check-in, check-out procedure? What's our branching approach for code? All of that technical stuff. That's all Scrum Master, not Project Manager. There may be things that kind of bump the surface and come in and out, and this is hold on. Yes, Joy? Okay, I'll bring your sandwich in just a minute. Okay? Okay, we got a minute. So, how long do I have here? 7 minutes. All right. Things that bump the surface, like, for example, access. Okay, you've got a dev environment that your developer might not have, because in environments where I'm at, enterprise organizations, they have pretty tight security. And I work in the healthcare industry, and it's very tight security on this kind of stuff. So you've got these kinds of issues that maybe cross the line between, is it a technical issue or is it an organizational issue? So that's where you got to dance. You have to have a good relationship. And project managers, I'm sorry, if you get off on Gantt charts and that's all you ever want to do, you know, go be a scheduler. But you're not going to make it as a project manager. As a project manager, you can do great work if you learn to have a solid relationship with your Scrum Master. And then you can pass things like this back and forth in a really organic kind of way and not worry about scribing that line, what happens, you know, where that line is exactly. The issue that I dealt with this project manager and Scrum Master was a misunderstanding. And I went in and, you know, I mediated between not between them, that sounds like it's more of an issue than it was. I went and talked with the Scrum Master. That's all. Chatted with him. And he was like, oh yeah, it's this. I went, oh, okay. Well, that's not exactly what was thought, and that's fine. So I helped communicate that back, and things smoothed out. But really, you have to build that relationship up. You really need to be a strong communicator. You need to know how to build relationships and make that be an integral part of your work as a project manager, because relationships are what it's all about, man. I can't say that enough. Relationships are what it's all about. And I don't just mean project management. It's life. I mean, my daughter, my relationship with her is just amazing. I love her. It's Wednesday, so this is my special night with her, because the rest of the family's off doing stuff at church. They're doing the church play. So I get to spend a night with my daughter. Right now she's getting clean. So anyway, that's all I'm going to share with you tonight. But work on it. Work on the relationship between you and your Scrum Master to make it a symbiotic relationship. Remember that? It's a symbiotic relationship between the two of you. All right? Thank you.